Hello, my name is Sophie Budd and today I'm working from home. I have got absolutely no functions booked as far as I can see. So after putting a little recipe on my Facebook page yesterday and all of you wanted some recipes, I thought, well, I'll start with probably my most famous recipe that I've taught in my cooking classes over the last, 7.5 years of having the cooking school. And beyond that as well. So the recipe is a homemade focaccia bread, and I wanted to give you a recipe for a small one, for a smaller family, and also a bigger one. And I've been getting it all ready over the last hour or so because there's a few stages that you need to go through to make the bread. So number one, it's great because it's a hot day. If you're in England and it's cold, you want to get the heating on and get some heat in the room. Or even get the oven on to sort of raise the temperature. On a hot day, your bread proves very quickly. On a cold day, it takes forever. So the first thing, I'm going to go through the quantities later, and I'm going to put the two quantities actually on the video as well. So in my bowl, I have got plain flour. I hope you panic bought some because there's not many and there's not much on the shelves out there. I've got plain flour. I've got just normal salt, just like a fine salt. I've used a dry yeast, a little bit of sugar. Now the sugar feeds the yeast and it makes it grow quicker. Some olive oil and some water. Now the water is at blood temperature. So when I say blood temperature, it's about 37, 38 degrees. You don't have to get a thermometer out, but what you're looking for is like a baby's bath temperature, nice and warm. So I've put some olive oil in there as well. You don't need a mixer for this recipe, which is great because not everyone's got one at home. And you mix it together just with a wooden spoon. There we go, getting it all off the edges. And what you want to look for is that the dough, see, it's quite soft and runny. That's why you use a spoon and not your hands. Give it a good mix, making sure there's no lumps of flour, no lumps of yeast, and it's all beautifully combined. Then you just leave the wooden spoon in the dough because you don't want to have to wash it twice, and you set it aside. So I like to put it on top of my oven to get the heat coming up from underneath, and you have to wait for it to almost double in size. So you'll have a look at the bowl. It generally takes 20 to 30 minutes and it rises up. And then that next stage, I haven't done that next stage, but that next stage is called knocking back. So put it to a side, fast forward 20 to 30 minutes, and imagine you have a bowl full of this lovely fluffy dough. What you do then, because your spoon's already in there, you give it a really good mix, and this is called knocking back the dough. So if you put that dough and you put it straight on a tray, the one I've just made, and put it in the oven, it would expand and go crazy. What's happened while we've waited for it to prove is, if you imagine I'm a grain of yeast and you give me two of my favorite things, which is food, sugar, and warmth, so the warm atmosphere and the warm water, and my little grain of yeast turns into a big air bubble. So that's what's happened in the proving process. So you knock back, give it a bit of a stir, and then you get a tray. You'll need a tray, and on the tray you gently rub a bit of olive oil with your hand and a sprinkle of flour, and that means when you bake the bread and it's rested for a couple of minutes, it lifts straight off the tray, so you don't need any baking paper. So this dough, oil, flour, dolloped it onto the tray. This is my little half mix. This is the size of the half batch of focaccia. And then sprinkle flour on top, purely to stop it from sticking to your hands. So pat it down lightly, pat, 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 and then you put it to the side again for the second proof. Once it's got bigger, so this, which has been on top of the oven for, again, like 20 minutes, you get some olive oil, and you dribble, and with the flat of your hand, really gently, don't push all that air out, you just get a little bit of oil all over the top, and then I've got some salt flakes, And then this is where you can put whatever you like on top. I've got fresh rosemary from my garden, nice and easy. Or if you've got olives in your fridge, you could grate some cheese, some parmesan, you could cook some onions and caramelize them down so they're super sticky. You could chop up some sun-dried tomatoes. There are some in my fridge but I've got no idea how long they've been there for. They look a little bit dry and dodgy. But all these different things you can put on top of the focaccia. And this is my favorite bit of making this. So because it's all bubbly, look, where the rosemary is, you stick your fingers in and you make these little dimples in the dough. Just wherever, dot, dot, dot. And that means now you're ready to go in the oven. So the oven is at about 180 to 190. It's already hot. And I'm gonna put it in there, and it generally takes about 20 minutes. And I'm gonna show you, here's one I made earlier. So this is the double mix. So you can see that's quite a lot of bread. To be honest with you, I can eat pretty much most of it, but because we're a bit short of flour, you might just want to do half batches. And it's super fresh on the day, but next day it's a little bit drier. One thing that you can do the next day, if you've only eaten half of it, you turn your oven on nice and high, splash it with some water, and you put that whole piece of bread back in the oven and it refreshes it. You can do that with a baguette or any whole pieces of bread. Anyway, so because I've got the oil and flour on the base, it has stuck to the edges a little bit. Let me get my knife. So just want to detach it from the edge. And on the bottom, because I've oiled it and floured it, it should pop up nicely. Pretty much has. Now you need to leave it for a few minutes to do this because it will stick just for the first few minutes after you've cooked it. There we go. So that is ready. How you test that it's ready, it's got that lovely even golden color, and when it comes out the oven it's a bit crispy, and you just tap and you tap mostly on the middle and it sounds hollow. So the hollow sound and the even color means that it's done. If you're really not sure, you can stick a knife in the thickest part, and if it comes out clean, you're good to go. How to eat it? Well, butter, as many of you know, is one of my favorite things. Eating it straight out of the oven with a nice slab of butter, maybe some cheese. I love it next day toasted with butter and some lovely honey. You can make it into big sandwiches. And as I said, you can refresh it the next day. You've really got 2 days on this, or you can freeze it. I'm making so much today, I'm gonna have to freeze some of it. What else do I have to say? Or if you go to a fishmonger, you can get some beautiful mussels and do a ummmm. I can post that recipe as well. And that's like the garlic, cream and shallot mussel dish. And you get this bread fresh out the oven and you dunk it in the thick sauce. That's pretty good. Anyway, thank you. I'm open to requests. I've already had quite a lot, so keep them coming, and depending what ingredients I've got, I'm gonna try and cook every couple of days and share my videos with you. Thank you for watching.